Man, do you guys ask the best questions? So I'm up to like Steelcast 9 on the backside here, and I keep having to throw in a 3.5 everywhere because the questions you ask are so good. And so this question came in, I'm like, crap. I've got to record 3.5 right now, and it comes to you from BJH4970. Can you talk a bit about wholesale versus retail pricing, or wholesale versus retail in general? Anyway, really learning a lot from this series. Thank you. Man, no, absolutely thank you, because you can say that I'm about blacksmithing, but if I am 2 points into blacksmithing, I am 6 points into business. I am very proud of the work I've done as a smith, but it has been my business that has made all of this possible. And for you guys to be not only taking that in, but to be asking the right questions, man, makes me a very, very happy boy. So I've actually recorded this twice already. And I've had to go back because it is so easy to get off in the weeds on this one. And, I want to give you guys some clear examples. And I also want to make sure that, I give you a solid point and I give you some example from the experience that I've had so that you can at least understand the context. So I'm going to try to keep this as tight and crisp. Again, I've wandered off the path twice before, so hopefully I'll get it right on the third try. So retail. Retail is where everybody's going to start off, and that's assuming, which is incorrect, but that's assuming everybody had their pricing right to start with, right? Let's just assume that everybody had a good idea of how to price their stock correctly. Retail is going to be you selling it to a friend, or usually they're going to ask for the discount, so let's just throw that out. Friends are always going to cost you money. But you're going to be going to the local turnip festival, and that's where you're going to be doing most of your sales. You're going to be set up at some little booth somewhere. You've got your 10 by 10 pop-up, your crappy Costco table, maybe an old set of underwear for a tablecloth. Who knows? But that's where you're going to be selling most of your stuff, and you will be selling it at what we consider a retail price. That is the price that I gave you guys earlier. That's that formula. And you've got to keep that margin there because that margin is what ends up feeding you, right? If you sell a $20 S-hook, well, you didn't make $20. You probably made closer to $12, right? Okay. So that's all fine and dandy, and that works for your local turnip festival. Now, the danger is when you start getting ready to scale up. Now, that's because in this world, the only time that you ever have to worry about wholesale is when you are just about to put some elbow grease into a lot of stock. And now, I'm probably going to kind of poop on a lot of your ideas here quick, but I'm going to tell you something, guys. If you've never had more than $10,000 worth of stock ready to sell, you are not ever ready for wholesale. So understand that wholesale and these economies exist on a scale where you have to produce. If you cannot do that production, you cannot get the efficiency that you need to make wholesale an option. Now, let me point out that there are, in fact, tons of people that have very foolishly just said, hey, I'm going to sell you these 10 forks and I'll give you a discount. And that usually ends up like a rusty toilet plunger in the hind end. That's just how that works. And people do it to themselves. Because again, they're saying, well, they're buying more than one. I'll cut them this discount. No, there's never a discount. If you want to survive and you want to be a professional on that end of it, and you really want to make things happen, you are worth your wages, period. Now, and for argument's sake, and this is where, I'm about to leave 98% of you guys at the retail end of it. And really and truly, and unfortunately, it's that simple. If you have not had more than $10,000 of stock ready to sell, you don't need to worry about wholesale. You always retail no matter what it is. Now, if you've got a buddy that comes by and he says, hey, I want those 3 pieces. Can you give me $10 off? I would highly advise against it. Again, you're worth the wage that you're putting out there, unless you were smart enough to put an extra 10% on top of those prices. And by giving them the discount, you're still making your margin. A little greasy, but that's business, right? So I ran into the wholesale problem because I needed to make knives and I had people that I needed to pay. Now, as an individual artist, if I make a sole knife, if I do a knife on myself, it's going to be a $500 or $600 piece because it's going to take me all day to make one decent knife. Shop rate is usually about $110 an hour. So you figure if I've got, and see, even then, this is where I kind of grit my teeth, because if you're a machine shop and you're doing specialty work, machine shop rates, at least down here, 100, 110 an hour, right? And so if I spend 8 hours on it, yes, that means that a custom knife is going to be $1,000, period. And a lot of people don't like that number and they say that you can't charge that. Well, that's why you're not in business. Okay? All right. So let's back up. When I had people to pay and I needed to keep people busy, I needed to be able to move a lot of knives. Selling, I could go out and work, but that's not the point of a business. I need to have my people working on our products. And that's where our production knives came in. Now, for us, like I said, on our production knives, we have the blanks laser cut, flat out and period. And that there's two ways that I was able to get a handmade knife, American made, good steel, natural handle material, and a hell of a quality sheath out for $150. And there were two things there I had to have. One, I had to cut the time, or literally cut out the time it took to grind a blank. So we have our blanks laser cut, which allows us to go straight to grinding and actually doing the bevels and then cleaning everything up. The second thing is I had to do what they called an economy of scale. I had to produce a bunch of them in a short amount of time. So when we were rolling our production knives, we could do about 90 knives in 7 working days between myself and 2 helpers. 90. And I mean, not just finished knives, but that's with sheaths and actually boxed for sale. Okay. And that means that we got a really good knife out for $150. Now, an American-made blade on that end of it, native, domestic, with that quality of sheath, you couldn't touch me. Could not touch me as far as the price goes. But understand, we had to do it at such a scale, right? So that's when wholesale comes in. And now, if I go out there tonight, and even if I get one of my blanks and I take my time and I grind it out and I actually hand polish it, I can take that same blank and make that a $500 knife. Put the right handles on it, take the extra time for the fit and the finish. I can absolutely make a $500 knife out of one of the blanks we have out there. But that's going to take me all day. Whereas if I've got 2 helpers and a few more days, I can make 90 knives. There is no way when you figure out the money that I can keep up with the money that my crew, that my business as a whole makes when we are doing production knives. There's just absolutely no competition. So, but at that point, now here's the other problem. So let's say that I've paid for our blanks, which are not cheap by any measure because we're getting the right steel and they're being cut, very precisely. This isn't cheap Pakistani stuff. I've got handle material that we literally went out into the woods and cut down a tree for, dried it, cut it, planed it. Handle pins, and also the labor for all of that. So I have got a good $3,000-$4,000 investment into putting all this stuff together. Okay. So great. So now I've got 90 knives. Who in the hell do you sell them to? Right? You've got you got like $10,000 worth of knives. Who in the hell do you sell them to? What company can you go to? And there's the real rub, because when you step up to that level, at that point, you're looking for a broker. So you're finding somebody that's moving so much particular product that, you can just dump your stuff in. And there are places out there like that. Blue Ridge Knives, Smoky Mountain Knife Works, Frost Cutlery. And I've worked with everybody except for Blue Ridge. Hey, Blue Ridge, want to buy some knives? they've been great guys. They bought a lot of knives from us, and they've sold a tremendous number of our knives in the past 2 years. But again, it's big numbers and it's swing or miss. You're not under contract. So there's a huge danger in there, when you're making that much material. Now, on the end, can you sell it on your own? You can, but then you really have to have some sort of way to be able to get it out to people, for it to get in front of those eyeballs. And even for me, as many of you guys out there that love me, the fact is we're not a sell channel. We're not a product channel. So a lot of the people that watch aren't here to buy. They're here to learn. They're here to hang out, have a good time, but they're not here to buy. So that's one of the incredible things about Frost Cutlery, because Frost Cutlery has Cutlery Corner Network. And boys, let me tell you what, the number of knives that they move through Cutlery Corner Network is staggering. It is insane. I'm not going to share with you the numbers on that end of it, but it is a black hole for knives. Now, it is true, the vast majority of what these guys are selling is going to be overseas Pakistani stuff. In fact, between China and Pakistan and India, that is the American knife trade, right? If COVID put a whooping on everybody on that end of it, because there are very few domestic producers of good quality knives, and you just can't compete on the price. Like, you can go buy a bag of knives from Smoky Mountain Knife Work for like $20, and there's like 30 knives in there. It's insane, right? So, getting to wholesale pricing, like, the problem is, before you ever even get to the pricing, you have to find a way to get it out there. And this is where the beauty of the symmetry of business comes in, right? If you're a Breaking Bad fan, the issues that Walt and Jesse had to move their meth, we've got this great product and we've got a tremendous amount of it, but how do we turn this into money? Well, you need a distribution network, and it needs to be a big one. Well, that's exactly how just about every other product out there works. So, the overall advice for this end of things is that, look, you're retail. You're going to be retail. And if you think of yourself as anything other than retail, you're just going to cause yourself some pain, and you're going to miss out on a lot of money. Most of us as blacksmiths, understand, guys, I am I'm a bit of a unicorn. There's probably less than, 200 or 300 actual practicing blacksmiths that do this for a living in the U.S. And as far as the spread of things that I do, I don't know of anybody else that does what I do as far as spread how my business operates, even the other blacksmiths. You've got your artists, you've got a couple of your guys who are teaching classes, but it's tough out there. It's tough out there on them streets. So guys, that's retail. 1, follow your pricing structure. 2, don't let people beat you down with a stick. You are worth your wages, or you better be. Now, if you got crap on your table, I can't protect you, right? But you're worth your wages. Set fair prices. And if you're curious about what the market will bear, talk to your friends. Talk to other people that sell stuff. Because at the end of the day, guys, and it's just like right now, I'm going to tell you, and one of the pushes that I've been doing here, with YouTube, you want to know why I'm back on YouTube? Because I need to sell some stuff. So we're kind of in the dead season, and we need to move retail product, which is the last way that I want to make my money. But in order to do that, I've got to create a little bit of marketing on that end of it and some advertising, and YouTube has been how I've traditionally done that. So if I'd like to survive through December, I got to get myself back on YouTube and start running my mouth again. So, and guys, again, I love doing this stuff, but there's very little that I do without purpose. And, retail is retail. I hope that I'll have a chance to go back to the big leagues with the guys that move a lot of knives, but I will not hear from them until October at best. Because they're not moving anything. They're starving to death right now. And so Guys, take that into consideration. Multi-million-dollar companies and knife companies and people that sell stuff are going broke right now because of what time of the year is. If nothing's moving on your table, it's okay. It's systemic. It's not just you. And here's the problem. So like right now, I'm like, well, dang, we need to move some product. Well, we need to cheapen our prices. That's going to make things imminently worse. Part of business is knowing where the slow times are, where the high times are, and being smart about when you hang on to your money to get you through those rough patches. And they're very predictable. A good friend of mine who works in the knife and sword industry, he says, these knife making companies, they have Christmas twice a year. They have a Christmas on Christmas and they have a Christmas on Father's Day. But outside of being around those two areas, it is a dead zone desert. And that has been the way it is since the 1970s, since these businesses have been founded. Now, the problem is for us on the small end of things, we don't ever get to see those trends, right? So when suddenly our business drops off, I know how I am. I'm like, well, Jesus, nobody likes my stuff anymore and I just suck, right? So maybe I just need to sell my $500 axe for $50 and just throw in the towel. Of course, that's me. I may need some antidepressants, but that's how I take it. And I'm like, well, man, I'm not pushing hard enough. I'm not marketing enough. No. That's not how that works. It could be market forces that have nothing to do with you, that just the nature of the business. So guys, that's really the thing. Don't worry about wholesale until you are of such level, that you have that much that you're producing. That's when you worry about the wholesale or you have a distributor. Now, when you get to that point, that's when you need to make a phone call. You don't need to be listening to YouTube videos. You need to pick up the phone and call Trent or call Adlai Stein or somebody who is in the business and say, hey, man, I'm about to try to make the transition. What can you tell me? So guys, that's going to wrap it up. Again, fantastic questions. And I'm going to get this out so you guys can hear it here in the next week. And we're just going to keep rocking and rolling. So again, as mentioned, I need to move some stuff. I need to sell some crap. So Patreon, we're going to be reinvigorating that bad boy here pretty quick. Because we got to pay some bills. We're going to have some stuff for sale. So hopefully by the time November rolls around, we got all kind of goodies to stock the Christmas stockings. But outside of that, guys, thank you so much for being here. Thank you guys for these awesome questions. And I will speak to you just a little bit later. Take care.